What's happening, fandoms? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we react to music videos and shows. Today we're going back to our series of breakdowns of The Last of Us. This one's about episode 5. If you're not familiar with new Rockstars and Eric Voss specifically, they've been providing pop culture breakdowns and analysis on properties all throughout MCU, Star Wars, anything you can think of really that's really popular, they do it. And they're an amazing channel. They provide great content and do the hard work to find these things. That's why we appreciate them. You should go give them a follow. Let's go ahead and dive into it now.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of The Last of Us Episode 5, Endure and Survive, an episode that players of the game were dreading the most, preceded by the gnarliest bloodbath we've seen on the show yet. This series is so good, it's hard not to feel the same bleakness that our heroes feel, and I honestly don't feel like making any quippy joke right now. Forgive me, but what I can do is take you back through this episode, scene by scene, to point out the incredible attention to detail and things that you might miss. And a week from today will be the launch of our new channel, The Deep Dive, with a deeper investigatory focus on titles like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Please subscribe over at Deep Dive NR. So we open in Kansas City on the night Kathleen's revolutionary movement overthrew Fedra, and we are thrust into the horrific violence that insurrections tend to be. The opening shot is a single red flare fired into the night sky like celebratory fireworks, but a flare is really designed to be an SOS signal, a beacon, as in these revolutionaries are morally lost, their souls beyond saving. The flare and its smoke trail also reminds me of a fungal stalk, which my interview with a cordyceps expert said in some cases can shoot upward with the speed of a gun. The Pilobolus fungus, considered one of the fastest organisms on Earth. So think about that in context of how fast the clickers and bloater in this regime later this episode. The crowd chants freedom and you, Fedra. And last breakdown, I compared Kathleen to America after 9/11, the Nazis making lists of names over their takeover of Europe, the Israelis getting revenge on Nazi doctors, and really what we're seeing here is January 6th if it wasn't stopped. Whenever throughout history and wherever throughout the world, revenge-fueled violence is humanity at its scariest. One Fedra soldier has a bullet hole in his temple, executed the way the South Vietnamese police chief executed Viet Cong captain in 1968. The famous photo, the many say, changed public sentiment about who were the good guys and the bad guys in the war in Vietnam. Henry will tragically do this to himself, which grimly forces us to question justice and morality in this post-apocalypse. These insurrectionists are laughing as they slaughter Fedra soldiers, stripping them down, hanging them, dragging their impaled bodies through the streets. They announce, as we see later with Kathleen, the trial is not at all fair, and it's interesting that they code the Fedra loyalists as collaborators. Collaboration normally having a positive connotation for community building, but in this short-sighted movement's lexicon, a form of evil. Melanie Lynskey plays Kathleen with an eerie suburban calmness, as opposed to the gruff energy female revolutionaries sometimes have in media.
Well, I'm not Fedra. Lucky for you. No one here has to die. Yeah, we could put you on trial. You're all guilty, so that's how that'll go. And you'll do some time, easy.
Yikes, the way she has already made up her mind. Actually, Melanie Lynskey had an amazing Twitter thread explaining how Kathleen is not the coolest or the toughest person. She's the organizer,
I read
planner,
that.
multitasker. And for better or worse, this group listened to the person with the best ideas of how to get shit done. Now, one prisoner gives up Dr.
That thread was in response to some a-hole giving her body shame about her taking this role because she's not fit enough or something. It's ridiculous. So I'm glad that she posted that thread.
Edelstein, who is helping Henry hide.
Hold up, where?
He didn't say. I swear, I've told you everything I know.
Of course you have. You're a rat.
A rat. Another nod to Hans Landa, who in the Inglourious Bastards opening scene likened himself to a hawk and Jewish people to rats, giving his take on the Nazi propaganda that did as much. Kathleen's Lieutenant Perry is played by Jeffrey Pierce, who voiced Joel's brother Tommy in the game. Perry doesn't want to devote all the men to hunting Henry.
Door to door take a lot of men, and there are other things that probably...
He's not my 7th priority, Perry. Is that what he is to you?
Kathleen is so blinded by revenge, and she has no real plan to maintain stability in KC, a blindness that will do all of them in this episode. Henry and Sam in the game are brothers Joel and Ellie meet in Pittsburgh. They're originally from Hartford, but here the show gives them more of a backstory in KC and a connection to Kathleen and her brother Michael. They meet Dr. Edelstein in the hideaway that Perry and Kathleen will find seen last episode.
Is he scared?
Yeah. Well, he saw a lot. Nothing I can do about that now.
He's scared.
because you're scared.
Good advice from this doctor. Kids often don't have context of the chaos of the world, and they look to their guardians for how to emotionally respond. If the parent panics, the kid will panic. And I love that in the panic of their escape, Henry knew to pack Sam's bag of crayons among the other essentials. That giving this kid something to focus on is as important as food and other supplies. This gives Sam the opportunity to cover the surfaces with art that reframes the outside world as a positive place. Kind of like the mother and son characters in the movie and book Room, where they transform their prison into the boundaries of the entire world. And hey, by the way, I am wearing our Last of Us inspired shirt that you can get from our merch partners at nerdriot.shop. Getting these is one great way to help support this channel. Okay, 10 days later tells us that in the time span from Revolution Night to Joel and Ellie's arrival in Kansas City and that suburb outbreak is only a week and a half. That is how long Kathleen's regime lasted. Sam's drawings show Super Sam fighting Fedra soldiers. So Sam had the same enemy that Kathleen had. He doesn't fully understand that Henry sold out Kathleen's brother Michael to Fedra, and now that's why Kathleen is hunting them. And notice how by this time, Sam is now painting an orange border around Super Sam, showing how he recognizes he and Henry are boxed in. The next day, Henry says they're out of food, and Sam asks if they killed Dr. Edelstein. Henry says probably yes. Remembering Edelstein's advice, Henry keeps Sam feeling confident by painting an orange superhero mask on his face, which also gives Henry some confidence when he looks down at his brother. As they leave, we realize this is the same moment Joel and Ellie are crashing through. And I love the point of view work across these two episodes. Last episode, from Ellie's point of view, we didn't see Joel shoot that second hunter, and now we do see that from Henry's point of view. And now when Joel looks over in his direction, Henry ducks. Last episode, you can see that same white door across the street with the 5 box windows that Henry was looking out of, but at that point we didn't know Henry was there. Henry gives Sam one of 2 unloaded guns that he and Edelstein pointed at each other. So if you think Edelstein left them with that gun, had Edelstein kept that gun, he might have been able to escape from the revolutionaries, or at least to fool them. But when Henry gives his brother the gun, it mirrors what Joel did with Ellie, and he tells Sam to hold it firm, but he doesn't tell him to use 2 hands. That's something that Sam does on his own, which makes Joel less likely to try anything. I love how Joel refuses to warm his tone.
That's right.
It's a weird tone, man.
That's just the way he sounds. He has an asshole voice. Joe, tell him he's okay.
Everything is great.
Dude.
Yeah, think about it. Joel is intentionally staying cold for that line, everything's great, just to psych out Henry. The next morning, Henry gives Joel a view of the city.
Welcome to Killer City.
No, Fedra.
Not as of 10 days ago, no.
You always heard Casey Fedra was...
Monsters, savages. Yeah, you heard right. Raped and tortured and murdered people for 20 years. Hey, you know what happens when you do that to people? The moment they get a chance, they do it right back to you.
Yeah, Killer City is a nickname given to KC, popularized by rapper Fat Tone's track Killer City, which did come out after 2003, but probably would have been a nickname locals used before then. The fact that Joel had heard of the KC Fedra's reputation tells us how horrible of a life Kathleen and those revolutionaries must have lived under to get them to that point. Henry says,
Not if it's just me and Sam.
You seem capable enough, you're armed.
And wrong. Never killed anyone. And pointing an unloaded gun at you is the closest I've ever come to being violent.
Yeah, Henry's making a major admission here that their guns were not loaded. So Joel isn't really pissed. He recognizes here that Henry can be trusted. Henry draws them a map and explains how to cross the highway by throwing to Sam, who writes tunnels on his Woody Woodpecker doodle pad. And I love this detail because 1, it establishes this as how Sam communicates, and 2, demonstrates the tunnel route as one a kid like Sam is not afraid of, so Joel and Ellie are more likely to see it as safe. Henry says that Fedra drove all the infected underground 15 years prior and claims that they cleared it out 3 years ago, and admits that in the meantime a few more might have gone down there.
Or one of those blind ones that sees like a bat.
You ran into a clicker.
2 of them.
And you're still alive.
Yeah, I think this is the first time the show has used the term clicker
Yeah,
in
I
the
think
game,
so.
which also signals to gamers that they are going to be following the infected progression from the game, which includes the next stage, bloaters. That list, the fact that he said it was 15 years since the infected were bottled up underground, tells us that that's plenty of time for one of them to bloat. As they navigate the tunnels, I love how Joel sounds like a gamer who has died playing The Last of Us several times.
See? It's empty. The plan is good.
The plan is good. We've been down here 2 seconds. We don't know anything.
Dad's kind of a pessimist.
I'm not
my
a dad.
Yes, both Ellie and Joel are on the same page that Joel, for now, sees Ellie as cargo still. They reach its
Not
entrance
my
as painted to
dad.
look like a happy kingdom, which looks exactly like the entrance to the underground Pittsburgh area where Danny and Ish live. And inside, they find a kid's drawing of Danny and Ish, our protectors, just like the one you find in the game. So Ish was a fisherman who had been out to sea for several months during the outbreak and returned ashore near a Pittsburgh sewer entrance. And there, he established a community with another guy named Danny and Susan and Kyle and their kids and several others. But at some point, a door was left open, and Ish and Susan and the kids escaped and made it out to the suburbs. After that, their fate is unknown. We see that hinted at by the rules here, and Joel hints at that.
I heard about places like this. People went underground after outbreak day, built settlements.
Yep.
What happened to them?
Mostly they
Followed the
died.
rules and they all got infected.
Actually, Ish's name was a nod to Isherman Ish Williams in George R. Stewart's 1949 post-apocalyptic novel Earth Abides,
Wow.
in which this guy, Ish, leads a similar community of pandemic survivors. Now here in
I
Kansas
did
City,
not know
Ish
that.
probably would not have been a fisherman who was out to sea, but now the uniforms make a bit more sense. Make me think that Ish and Danny might have been Fedra soldiers, in the show at least, who broke away from the more awful rest of Kansas City Fedra. Sam and Ellie find a Savage Starlight comic. This is an in-universe comic series in the game following Dr. Daniela Starr, space adventurer in 2186. This episode's title, Endure and Survive, comes from the trophy that you get in the games if you collect all these comics. Which is why
Oh.
Ellie is so stoked to talk about her collection.
Nice.
No way! I love these! I have issues 4, 5, 6, 11.
Issue 11 you can find upon leaving Pittsburgh in the game after escaping the hunters and washing ashore on the beach. It's in the wrecked boat. But she says she has issue 5, and issue 5 in the game isn't found until way later in Tommy's Dam. This issue is Accretion. You see the title at the bottom there. That is issue 6, in which Daniela and Captain Ryan are thrown into an arena where the hostile extraterrestrials, the Travelers, make them fight to death. I guess you could say there's a parallel in the way that Ellie and Sam are thrown into a death arena. As Ellie and Sam recite the Endure and Survive creed from the comics, behind them on the wall, the past kids drew stick figures of an older girl and a younger boy that parallel Ellie and Sam in this moment. Joel apologized for assuming Henry was untrustworthy.
All things considered, seems kind of cruel to send a whole army after you for that.
But Henry doesn't let Joel let him off the hook. He's still punishing himself for betraying Michael in order to get leukemia medication for Sam from Fedra.
There was a man, a great man. You know, he's never afraid, never selfish, and he's always forgiving. Have you ever met someone like that? Kind of man you'd follow anywhere.
Melanie Linsky said in an interview that Kathleen's brother was considered a Jesus figure, and so that metaphor would make Henry the Judas Iscariot, who was the apostle who turned in Jesus and in the New Testament committed suicide.
I am the bad guy because I did a bad guy thing. But you get it though. You might not be her father, but you were someone's.
We learned last episode that Joel has been both a black hat and a white hat, that he previously faked being injured to lure people into a trap, but it's worth noting that Joel did not do these bad things to protect Sarah. Sarah was gone at that point. He didn't even have protecting a kid as an excuse. Perry finds Kathleen in Michael's childhood room where a soccer photo is still on the wall, and she says,
When Michael and I were little, this room seemed so big. I was really scared of thunder. So when there was a storm, Michael told me that this wasn't a room at all. That this was actually just a big wooden box. A big wooden box that nothing could get inside of. He said, as long as we were together in our perfect box, we would be safe.
Pretty sad for Kathleen to feel this way, even after seeing Sam and Henry's hideout last episode and realized that Henry had been doing the same exact thing for Sam to protect him. But that is the point. Michael's death proved to Kathleen that his forgiveness, his turn the other cheek mindset, did not help him survive this backwards world. So here, by agreeing that they're doing the right thing, both she and Perry are sealing their moral fates. The others make it to the suburbs across the highway, but a sniper starts firing on them. Henry tries to run away with Sam.
Let's go. What are you doing? Get the f out of here! Oh shit!
Yeah, notice how Henry reacts to the gunshot. Sam doesn't. He just reacts to Henry. Tells us how confusing this all must be for this deaf kid. Joel sneaks up behind the shooter and begs him not to make him kill him.
Please don't do it. Please.
Yeah, interesting again how we cut away from Joel killing someone. The second hunter that Joel shot last episode, that guy Brian who he stabbed, were both off screen. Those were only experienced from Ellie's point of view, just like this killing is here. Only Joel's pummeling of that Fedra soldier in episode 1 do we see because Ellie sees it. Joel's violence is only
Ellie's the
depicted
main
when it has
character.
a role in activating Ellie's violence. Joel screams, "Run!" Which at first the kids don't hear because it's too far away until it's too late and the plow is barreling through the cars. It too has "Run" spray painted on it. The tension is so nerve-wracking, especially when the rifle jams. And immediately after it jams, we cut back to the word "run" on the plow as if it is Joel's mental scream to Ellie. But that jam provides a pause for Joel to collect his breath and re-aim, so the next shot he fires takes out the plow driver. Henry asks Kathleen to at least let the kids go, but Kathleen refuses to accept Henry's argument that doing anything to save a kid is worth it.
But did you ever stop to think that maybe he was supposed to die? Well, kids die, Henry. They die all the time. You think the whole world revolves around him? that he's worth everything?
During this morally bankrupt line, which Melanie Lynskey delivers perfectly without an ounce of remorse, we cut to Joel, who is doing the same thing for Ellie. Their entire relationship with Henry and Sam is designed to force Joel to think about his relationship with Ellie. Kathleen believes she is the one delivering Henry's rightful fate.
It ends the way it ends.
Yeah.
But Kathleen fails to see her own rightful fate. Warned to her last episode with that pulsing hellmouth back in the city that Fedra didn't really clear all the infected, they just moved them. The burning plow truck has damaged the basement of this house, and that heavy-ass truck caves a hole into the sewers below, and...
Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
I love how fast those infected geyser up out of the hole all at once. From Joel's high angle, you can see one of them running in his direction, still on fire. Much like the experience you would have playing some parts of the game, Joel is stuck on one perch, having to shoot infected to keep Ellie safe in another area. The editing makes it seem like he and Ellie are starting to share a hive mind, like all the pieces of the fungus do.
Oh.
He sees Ellie looking at an open vehicle window, and his eyes dart over to it. He's just somehow able to know where she needs to go and clears a path for her. And then we see it. The bloater rises up from the pit. So bloaters are the stage of infected after clickers, in which the fungus continues to build on the body over 10 years, forming a kind of armor resistant to gunfire. And I love that the show designers kept his sagging belly, like bloaters have in the game, though bloaters in the game aren't this tall. They don't seem strong enough to lift people in the air like this, but they can totally rip your jaw apart and smash your skull. Perry gets his attention, and as Kathleen flees, we see it ripping Perry's head off. It is wild. And I do love that, as is sometimes the case in the game, the bloater is not taken down. The last time we see that swarming street, the bloater is still walking around. Joel is so shaken by seeing this bloater that he loses sight of the one clicker small enough to fit in that vehicle window, a young girl. This clicker is actually played by young actress Skye Bell Cowton, who is an accomplished gymnast. Ellie is able to evade her, but when Kathleen catches them, it is that same girl clicker who gets her. Bit of irony considering Kathleen previously considered kids' lives unimportant. In the motel afterwards, while Ellie reads the comic to him, Sam looks uninterested because he knows he has been infected at this point. He writes, "If you turn into a monster, is it still you inside?" Similar fear that Ellie had when she previously asked Joel about this, and then was able to investigate when she sliced open that infected in the convenience store basement. But on a deeper level, this is also a thematic question. If you start to act monstrously, are you the same human you once were? Does our monstrosity come from some natural external evil separate from us? Or do we innately invite the monstrosity to take us over by some force of destiny, maybe natural selection, as a result of our natural affinity for monstrosity that was always inside us so that we reconnect with nature? This is the sort of question posed by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Richard Matheson's I Am Legend, even with Robert Kirkman's decision to title it The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead referring to the human survivors of that story. Ultimately, it's human vanity to consider our souls exceptional above nature, and these monsters are nature's way of rebalancing the status quo. We are the monsters. We are legend, and that was always us inside. It just, really sucks to see this happen to a kid. Ellie cuts her hand, hoping her blood will cure him, but it does not work that way. And Ellie awakens to see Sam sitting facing the sun, maybe reacting to the sunlight, same way the infected in episode 2 turned in the sun. Henry grabs a gun. At first seems like he's gonna shoot Joel, but then instinctively shoots Sam. And then, flooded with despair, that Kathleen might have been right, that maybe it wasn't all worth it, he makes a decision to end it. This is mostly how it goes down in the game. I think it might have been just too much to change Henry and Sam's fate, because the truth is, this is a bleak world. And Joel, for his future path, needs to be conflicted with the possibility that putting everything on the line for a kid might not be worth it. Looking back, giving Bill and Frank a happy ending in episode 3 was desperately needed for this HBO series, because otherwise it would have been one bleak suicide after another. Ellie leaves Sam's notepad on his grave with "I'm sorry" written on it. And I think what's even sadder for me, the way she wrapped the string around the top and tucks it in so that no one else will ever be able to write anything else. Joel was wrong that it's easier for kids because no one is depending on them, because kids can sometimes feel that responsibility too, as Ellie did as a big sister to Sam. By trying to give her blood to Sam, she really thought that she might cure him. And by asking which way is west, she's not burying her grief. She is furious with herself and desperate to find a doctor who could turn her blood into a cure to prevent this shit from happening ever again. And Joel and Henry were also wrong that endure and survive was redundant and didn't make sense. It does make sense. The two words are different things. To survive is to just stave off death, but to endure is to emotionally harden oneself and to tolerate the pain of survival. And as these two characters walk this path, they must both endure and survive. Please subscribe to The Deep Dive. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EABoss. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Wow. I think this time my favorite details are all of the literary comparisons that he made. Eric is a very deep person and is strongly knowledgeable in writing and filmmaking, and understanding how those literary pieces fit together is a superpower. And I think he's right about just about everything he said. The analysis of the monster inside and all of these past historical literary moments that demonstrate that, and how those you build upon, and this comes out. The monsters in these survival horrors are always the humans. It's never the actual monsters that are really the problem. They're just an allegory for the evil that finds its way inside of people, and literal people that become evil in order to survive. And I don't think I cried during this actual episode, but man, the way Eric's voice seemed to be tearing up during this last part of this breakdown got to me a little bit. And this was, again, a little bit of a sad one. For whatever reason, I didn't remember Sam and Henry from the original game. My memory is spotty of the game. It was a very long time ago, and I didn't remember Pittsburgh. I didn't remember Henry and Sam. I do remember the tunnel where those people survived, so my brain remembers weird things, I guess. But their ultimate fate was pretty heartbreaking, and I think his analysis is right. It's designed to put a conflicted point of view into Joel's brain about what he's doing, and to make it difficult, because this story is nothing if not difficult to work through, and I've been enjoying it a great deal, and I hope you guys have too. Thank you so much for all your support and comments and so on. We really appreciate you. We'll leave it here, and we'll see you in the next episode.